Welcome to Unfiltered Recovery. I'm Joey. This is Amanda. Please follow and mean the world, and let's get started right now. What do you do if you're struggling at life and you think you have a problem with drugs or alcohol? Well, you come here. Amanda, take over.
Okay, so for me, when I realized I had a problem with my drug of choice, whether that be sugar, drinking, drugging, shopping, sex,
Sex.
I I ended up finding a program of recovery that really worked for me. And I've been working that program of recovery for a little over 11 years now. My sobriety date is April 6th, 2015. And when I joined my program of recovery, I was unsure what it meant to join it. I thought that once I walked into the room, that labeled me as
Different.
different or a problem. And that's not what it meant at all. It just meant that I found a place where I could relate and be safe and feel at home, get that acceptance that I was looking for. And it's been really wonderful. I do know that when I came in, I was worried about finding people that I knew going to the same program I was going to. And so I avoided going to those meetings in or around the town I lived in. However, I did run into someone I knew, and they ended up being one of my teachers in high school. It felt very weird. I didn't know what to call them because I knew them as, Mrs. Potts, just for example. And I couldn't call them that because we weren't in school anymore. So it was a little confusing and a little tricky to figure out the waters with that situation.
I think that's one of the reasons why people don't go to meetings, because you don't want people to know you have a problem. You run into someone in town at that meeting, and then you're labeled an alcoholic or druggie, right?
So one of the things about being in a program of recovery is that we have this thing called anonymity. So if I go to a meeting and I see someone at a meeting that I know from outside of the rooms, I can keep their anonymity by not telling other people that I saw them there. So say I see Joey, and I know Joey from school, and I see Joey in a room of recovery, I don't go outside and be like, hey, Mom, guess what? I saw Joey at the meeting.
That's a big no-no in recovery.
So, say I walk into the room, I see Mrs. Potts. I don't go home and be like, hey, Mom, I ran into an old teacher of mine from high school. Her name is Mrs. Potts. I just say, hey, I ran into someone I knew from high school who was a teacher of mine in my program of recovery. It was a little weird at first, but it ended up working out. And we've been really close friends, and we've really helped each other through the program.
That's a good point. Anonymity is extremely important. I know a lot of people in town that have a problem, that go to meetings, that are amazing members of society, and we don't break that anonymity. So basically, if you think you have a problem, find a meeting in town and go to that. If I go to a meeting, does that commit me to going to meetings? No. Amanda, take over.
So if I go to a meeting for recovery, that doesn't mean that I have a problem necessarily. If I'm not ready to admit I have a problem and I go to that meeting, I can just be checking it out, seeing what it's like. I came into the rooms at 21. I said I was a member without understanding what that meant. And it wasn't until I was a month sober when I lost someone very important to me in their active addiction. And that's when I realized that I needed this thing called recovery. Because if I didn't get this thing called recovery, I could very much end up like them. And I didn't want to end up like them at all. So, it took me a while to fully realize what it meant to go to meetings, to being in a room of people who might share the same solution to our common problem. It was really beneficial for me finding that. I've made a fellowship, I've made a family with that. It's just been wonderful for me. I've been able to do all sorts of things in the rooms because I've been sober.
What happens at a meeting? Someone asked me this. Basically, I go to a meeting and I bitch about my problems. What really happens, Amanda?
So, what happens at a recovery meeting is that you go in, generally, depending on where you're at in the country or the world, you'll have a greeter. They'll come up and say hi to you, welcome you to the meeting. You might get coffee, you might get tea, you might get water. Go sit down. The meeting starts, and then each meeting is slightly different. It could be a literature meeting talking about a piece of our literature. It could be a discussion meeting. It could be a speaker discussion meeting. So it really depends on the meeting. But what happens is we talk about our experience, strength, and hope. And what experience, strength, and hope is, what we do with that is we talk about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So what it was like, my life was extremely unmanageable, and I ended up having problems with sugar and all sorts of other things. What happened is I found the rooms. The rooms have helped me immensely. And then what it's like now is I'm still sober. I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm 11 years in, and I thought I was living a life beyond my wildest dreams at 5 years sober. And it's still beyond my wildest dreams. Never thought I'd be this far in life. So, we talk about the solution mainly to our common problem.
Sure.
And then not only that, but some people need a place to vent about some of their problems going on, so they vent. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're very open to what anyone has to say, and we just keep an open mind.
How does a meeting help you not drink or not use, Amanda?
I was told that whenever I felt like I needed to drink or drug, that I should take my butt to a meeting. Because at that meeting, like I said, we talk about our common solution to our common problem. The common problem is my addiction to sugar and drugs and alcohol. So, we talk about that solution. What's the solution? The solution are the 12 steps of the program and finding a power that's greater than myself.
I love that, Amanda. Basically, we relate to other people's problems and we don't compare ourselves to other people, which gets us in trouble. But also by doing this, we can help them. We go to a meeting, we stop drinking, but why do we keep going to meetings, Amanda?
So for me, I keep going to meetings because I can't survive off of yesterday's sobriety. So my program of recovery is actually an action program. So I need to put into action the steps I'm taking every day. And I need to put into action like prayer, meditation, writing out an inventory at night, writing out an inventory during the day. So for me, going to a meeting every day or every other day or however frequently you want to go to a meeting helps keep me sober because I stay in the solution. So if I'm struggling with a problem that day, I take my butt to a meeting, I'm at that meeting, and I get that solution that I need. And then it helps keep me sober. And when I see new people walk into the rooms and say, hey, I have 2 days sober, I can be like, hey, I need you here because I can learn from you and what your mistakes might have been.
Sure.
So, some people relapse. And relapse is part of a lot of people's sobriety and their program of recovery, but it's not part of everyone's story. Now, I was a one-chip wonder. I haven't gone back out because I haven't felt the need to go back out yet. I pray that I don't.
So, Amanda, you said using the 12 steps in recovery during everyday life. What do you mean by using the steps in recovery?
In my program of recovery, there are 12 steps, from step 1 to step 12. Now, step 1 is the most important step. In my opinion, it's the one step you have to do perfectly every day.
Sure.
And that is not picking up your drug of choice or your substance choice. Whether that be sugar, shopping, sex, not picking up.
Basically, once you stop giving up alcohol, you're going to want sweets a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot of sugar content in alcohol. And because of that sugar content, a lot of people end up having a hard time with sugar after they quit. I know someone who ended up drinking like 2 gallons of orange juice in a week at a time because of the amount of sugar that was in the orange juice. Because they were craving that sugar that they weren't getting from what they were consuming anymore.
I just ate gallons of ice cream.
That tracks.
How do you join?
You remember when you say you remember. So I can go to a meeting whenever. I can go to open meetings, which means that anyone in the community is welcome to go to that meeting to learn more about recovery. Whatever that recovery looks like to you. Now, there are also closed meetings, which are for people that have a desire to want to stop using. Like I said, whether that be sugar, shopping, sex, drugs, the list is endless.
So basically for me, everyone said I had a problem and I didn't think meetings would help. I went to a meeting and then I met people that told my story. So if you're not sure out there, it's worth going to a meeting to waste an hour to see if you have a problem and to see if you like the people at the meetings. If you don't like the people at the meetings, I don't like some people at the meetings.
If you don't like some of the people at the meetings, find another meeting or start your own meeting.
Sure.
Membership to be in a program of recovery doesn't cost anything.
It's free.
Yes. We do have dues, we do have fees for the places we rent to have our meetings, to have coffee, to have special little snacks like cupcakes, cookies, So we do pass a basket around at the meeting, and it is suggested that you put $1 into the basket.
I never put $1 in the basket.
I struggle financially, so I don't usually put money in the basket either, but I donate my time to the meeting. So I set up the meeting, I make the coffee, I greet people. That is how I am of service to the meeting. That is how I give back to the meeting.
I love it. And for me, I go to meetings to help people not hit that horrible bottom because you can stop it nowadays at meetings because people relate with you. They hang out with you outside of meetings. You learn how to have fun outside of meetings. You go out to eat outside of meetings. You'll never laugh as hard outside of meetings. And it could be incredible for you. It really could.
To my knowledge, any program of recovery is not religious. My program of recovery is a spiritual program.
I like that.
Spirituality is very different than religion. My higher power, something that I feel is greater than me, is more of a feeling than, say, a God. Some people go to meetings and they have a higher power whom they choose to call God, but then they also go to, say, church, and their God is that religious God in church. I go to meetings. I have a higher power whom I choose to call God, but my God is not a religious God. My God is a spiritual God. It's that feeling I get when I listen to a song and I feel like it's trying to tell me something that I should hear. I get that feeling when someone is sharing in a meeting and I hear what I need to hear that day.
I love it.
And it's the same way with spending time with people outside of the rooms.
Please follow and subscribe to Unfiltered Recovery. Me and Amanda here every single week, and we care about you. And I think this will help. If it doesn't, you could just stop going, just like the meetings you're going to try going to.
Have a nice day, guys. This is Unfiltered Recovery. Bye.